2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
Anyone that's in our situation that was holding any funds, we feel bad. Not much can be done right now. They're looking for some answers. This came because of the Three Arrows loan that was not paid back. Three Arrows was liquidated, and it's had a horrible effect on crypto. And you know what? We trusted the team and didn't see this day coming. And even when they got the loan, it seemed like things were going fairly normally. You even got your rewards yesterday in the morning, but there was a tweet that the new rewards were not official because it did say July 1st, and that was kind of a eerie tweet. I didn't go to the next step in my head, and 2 o'clock the afternoon got the word. I think I sent you the text, and why don't you walk us through what you thought when you saw that text that I sent you?
Figures. Just the way things have gone over the last maybe 3 months, for 6 months probably, and just knowing that these relationships aren't just one way. These relationships between these banks and these companies and lenders and borrowers, and there's this whole web of connectivity. And so knowing that Voyager was linked to them, knowing that, they had all of that exposure just to that one company, then the idea is there, how many other companies are they linked to that are also linked to Three Arrows Capital? How many, you could go down a rabbit hole, really, depending on how DeFi degen they got with their lending and with their money. They could have gone into relationships with a bunch of different companies who are now in trouble based on Three Arrows. And they put out these tweets, and it was like I said that tweet that they put out saying we're here, we're working hard, whatever, that was eerily similar to the Luna tweets the week that all went south. And so to see that, and then to say that, and then to see them again go south, it puts a sick feeling in your stomach that
and the difficulty was some of the tokens
that
a lot of people held were not transferable, and it made what needed to happen then is you had to sell for a loss. And even I heard some of the transfers, like usually a USDC transfer goes within 30 to 60 seconds. That was not happening. That was taking days, so it was a scary situation. And they did get the loan to cover the loss. The problem is there was a mass exit. It had kind of slowed down a little bit the day before, but they just decided if they had kept going,
well,
it really bad.
You made an interesting point before the show. What were they using that loan for? What was the end goal with that loan? Because
I think they were trying to keep
the rewards going, then some of that loan is gone already, right?
Well, here's what I'm thinking is, in hindsight, they could have been a lot more conservative and just really, they already took down some of the rewards. Not all USDC is 9% anymore. In hindsight, they could have suspended, they would have taken a huge hit, But if they would have suspended the rewards and said, "Hey guys, we right now here's the situation. If you stick around in VGX, you're going to get we will make it up to you somehow, some way when the market recovers. But as of right now, this is going to happen." Yeah, you would have lost customers, but the company would still, the platform would still be operating.
And to me, it's that all or nothing approach that some of these crypto companies take. Like it's either a home run or it's a strikeout. And oh, well, if we strike out, that's not really the approach they should be taking with other people's money. And to see some of these folks in this team that came from Ameritrade and Uber, and then to know what some of those companies got away with early in their existences, because those companies were loosely regulated, because those markets or those things didn't exist before. It starts to make you feel like, are these people really innovative, or are they just people who are jumping from unregulated market to unregulated market and taking advantage of that lack of regulation while they can?
All right, so let's talk about worst case and best case scenario. So I guess there is a scenario where they get more money from Alameda and FTX and keep going. I don't think that's going to happen. I wish it would for my family's sake, but I don't think so. There's a situation that is somewhat realistic, and here's why. One, it just happened with BlockFi, and we haven't mentioned on the show, Alameda actually had to take a smaller stake and become a 9% shareholder versus a 12%. There were some rules because of the stock. So Alameda is already in for 9. Basically, Sam, who owns FTX, is already a 9% stakeholder. And he already lent Voyager a lot of money. He probably wants to see this thing go through. And I would think they didn't spend that much money on BlockFi. Yes, they just did buy BlockFi, which was 250 or 260 million. That's not a lot of money to get what BlockFi had. So if they can work out a deal, and Sam is who he says he is, then you could eventually have your assets in the next few months on, I don't know if they would call it Voyager anymore, or they would just FTX. So if you had anything besides VGX, you would be okay, because as the market recovers, your money would recover too, just like if you're holding it on Voyager. VGX token, I have no idea what his motivation. I find it hard to believe that they would keep the Voyager management team if they're bought by FTX. So maybe you have no idea. Maybe Sam looks at the Voyager token and says, a brokerage token, we can do some damage with this in the States. We don't, FTX is nothing like that. I like this credit card idea. Maybe I'll and then, you could easily recover, because FTX and they got Seth Curry on national commercials. I mean, it's a powerful, Sam's a billionaire. But let's make it clear, Sam is not obligated to give all the users back their assets. That would be something I would hope Steve would negotiate. And I think Sam says he plans to do that with BlockFi. So he seems like a very generous, nice human being.
And let's be clear,
we don't want to lie. We don't want to lie and say it's all coming back, because it might not.
Right. Let's be clear, BlockFi, Celsius, all of these companies have said that they're going to do their best to make sure they maintain the assets of their.
Well, let's Celsius does not have a buyer. So a couple of things of Celsius we want to make clear. Sam chose not to get involved with Celsius at all. They don't have a buyer. And today it came out that they were paying back part of what they owed. The problem is people are theorizing they're using customer assets to do that. It's almost like they're liquidating their own customers. BlockFi never sold any of their customer assets. They were just acquired. And so now, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've been reading about this, FTX owns those assets, but as part of the agreement, the plan, they haven't announced this, but the plan is to give people those assets either under an FTX platform or under some new type of BlockFi platform that FTX owns. So people will have a chance to sell or keep on BlockFi as of now, and it could change, but nothing's official. But the plan is BlockFi, if you have an account with BlockFi, you're going to get to keep your crypto for now. It's not in stone. Celsius, you are in big trouble because neither FTX
Yeah.
nor Binance nor Coinbase has shown any interest in acquiring you. And Steve did say that they have parties that are interested in either giving money as more money as a loan. But I think a purchase here is more likely. And if you have funds on Voyager, it's your forget about VGX for a second. Let's leave that off the table. But let's say you have significant USDC or Bitcoin or Ethereum, you're gonna hopefully be able to access that on FTX. And why would you want to sell Ethereum now anyways, where it is? Why would you want to sell Bitcoin now anyway? So there might be a rainbow, there might be some light at the end of this tunnel, but we're not trying to wave pomp on to say everything's going to be okay. We're just saying don't do anything crazy, don't do anything stupid. It's not over just yet because BlockFi thought people that had BlockFi were feeling horrible, and now yesterday there was optimism and FTX did do
well. And that's why I don't necessarily think that is the best case scenario. I think the best case scenario obviously is they find a way to push forward and they move forward and they everything ends up turning out okay and they work out a way to continue running while carrying that debt
but how do you survive? Let's say a month from now you open the doors, there's an email saying in 24 hours the platform is open. How do you survive 70 to 80% of the users leaving?
Would they at that point? I just don't know that because I mean at that point you really are at a bottom with, especially with something like VGX. If you're holding VGX.
Oh no, maybe not VGX, but people that own their Bitcoin, their USDC, their Ethereum. They're probably not sticking around.
They're probably not sticking around, and then the platform probably exists strictly for traders for a while, or at least for traders and those that hold VGX.
You're going to have to build up your customer base all over again.
But to me, they find a way to that would be the best case scenario for everybody involved, right? To me, the next best case scenario is to be bought out not by somebody like FTX. And then further centralizing the crypto market in the US, right? Because then you've got Blockfolio and Voyager and all.
Well, wait a minute now. You got to remember, FTX is very powerful say in this. They own 9% of the shares, and they also just gave out hundreds of millions of dollars in loans as Alameda Research.
Oh yeah. I'm just saying that still to me isn't the best case scenario, because then customers who hold, like you said, hold VGX, that is probably gone.
So it would have to be a big bank.
For me, I think that a bank who hasn't gotten into crypto, that is interested in sort of cornering that end of the market. I'm not going to speculate on which ones may be interested in doing that, but there are banks out there that aren't as of yet, and a lot of the big ones that aren't as of yet able to offer that kind of trading platform, that kind of custody, that kind of anything to their customers. And if they purchase that, they could easily onboard that into their system. And then you've ready-made so many customers right there just by onboarding onto, let's say Chase Bank was the one that buys them and uses their platform. Now you have all these customers that can access the Voyager platform through, and then they can change the name from VGX to CHX or CSX or whatever they want to change it to, and it becomes their token, and then it still has value for the people that held it before. So to me, I would like to see another player come in and sort of further decentralize the exchange.
But that player would have to take on the debt that's owed to FTX.
I think a large portion of what banks do is manage debt anyway. A lot of what they have is paper money, and it's sort of like, I bundle together all of these mortgages and I sell them as a bundle to somebody else so that they can collect on them, and they pay me a premium, and then they collect more of a premium by servicing those loans. And so managing debt, I don't think is something that banks are afraid of. I think it's something that they welcome. And it also gives you leverage against a company like FTX when you have, something that they, that they're a part of, that they obviously are have loaned out hundreds of millions of dollars to, you sort of have one over on them.
Well, but their shareholders, they have to agree to this. So
I'm sure. Well, yeah,
public
and
company.
that's what I said is that there's a lot of, pie in the sky there. But what I think is that the FTX, I don't think, is your savior if you want the best for everybody that's involved.
But it's probably the most realistic outcome. Good outcome. Worst
Yeah,
case,
well, most realistic, probably. Yeah, most plausible.
worst case, things go to bankruptcy, and then, well, you guys figure out the rest. It's good night, Irene.
And then
And
everything gets sold, and that's how they pay off their debtors.
yeah, and I'm trying to remain optimistic. I'm not trying to be a blind cheerleader, but if BlockFi can survive with with FTX and the Voyager FTX, there's also a Voyager Binance relationship, which is interesting. However, Binance does have Binance US, but that's someone that's paying to use the Binance. No, people, we've talked about sport in the past. That's paying to use the Binance name. So Binance is in the US, but it's not the same Binance that's offered. There are a lot of tokens that are missing on Binance US that are on Binance. You're shaking your head for Binance, but
I
that
just don't
is
think they would, like you said, Binance is such a large company, one, but they already have that US wing, and they've already had their own problems with Binance.us. So I don't think, and I haven't heard anything of them expressing interest in any of these companies. Like there are some central players like FTX and Alameda and a few others that are stepping in, and then some venture capitalists who are stepping in to provide money, to companies like Voyager and others that are going to struggle moving forward. But I just don't. I just haven't heard any rumblings that Binance is interested in that kind of a thing.
we'll see. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't think Coinbase is a realistic option. They've cut back. They were supposed to hire a bunch of people, and Armstrong is known for taking all the profits into his own pockets. So I don't see him making a big investment. I would rule them out.
And to me, honestly, if Binance or Coinbase was the ones to buy out Voyager, it would be in order to destroy that competition. It wouldn't be a situation where they were hoping to, create more competition in that market, or build up a company in order to save their customers and save the broader crypto community. I don't think that's a real thing. So I think that your best hope is somebody like FTX, Alameda, or hope that somebody like Bank of America.
My prediction is it will be FTX. We'll see. We're going to keep doing the show. I don't know about our crypto buying habits right now. But I do have some. You easy thing would be to give up and say it's over. And I'm not going to have that mindset. I know you're not going to have that mindset. I do have some ideas, and I'm going to bring. I've got some new ideas. That I have some undervalued. I have an undervalued project that we have barely discussed on this program. I think we brought it up for 5 seconds. That I think is one of the safest bets in the crypto community. So if you have lost a ton of money, not financial advice, I'm not saying, and I'll bring that up on the next show. It actually has done pretty well, and no, it's not ETH because we talked about ETH, but we're because of the situation, we will do a show. We talk about long-term recovery. All right, let's say you were in Voyager and you had a bunch of projects, and that money is trapped. You don't know if it's going to get it back, and you don't have a lot of money to play with. Is there some safe things that you can go with? Safe being very. We'll talk about hard wallets. We'll talk about cold storage. We'll talk about all the options. We'll talk about whether we think Coinbase and FTX is safe. I do. You're not necessarily there. We'll talk about what you can do. legally to try to salvage and make up some of the money that you lost. But let's hope before we end the show. And are you expecting any news at all this week?
No.
No. Okay.
I don't. I think you'll see something like we're still here, we're still working hard, and that just reminds.
I tend to agree. I think this is going to take several weeks to hash out. And
unless somebody comes in and says we're going to buy you or we're going to provide you.
Well, my only the Almeida loan happened within hours. Now when they're not a buy, and the BlockFi thing came together within less than 10 days. So I'll say there's a chance we could hear something in the next 2 weeks. I'm not predicting it'll happen that fast, but hopefully we hear something. And if FTX is coming in, I know that's not your best case, but I think right now my concern is for people like us that had money on there, some even a lot more than us, that they just at least have access to decide whether or not they want to sell their crypto or keep. I think that's for me. We'll talk about VGX another day. Until we know who's running it, it's a waste of a conversation, right? You know, because we don't know whoever takes over might feel like VGX is a waste. That they don't see value.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to take it over and then not value what's there. That's why I think I think.
Well, but they might use it.
They will move forward.
It might end up being a good thing. I don't know. I mean, someone might have a completely different vision in tokenomics for VGX. But I still think that web of connectivity between these banks we still haven't seen the full fallout from this Luna, Three Arrows, Celsius, all these different. I don't think we've seen the full fallout from this yet. I think a lot more people are connected, and then when that falls, they will owe somebody else money, and then that company is going to be hurt. I think you're still going to see a lot more problems here. And then you'll have some regulation coming in, which honestly, I'm going to say the space does. I've said this before, the decentralization. And I'll talk about this very briefly on the show. Cold wallets, that's not the future of crypto. I understand the safety, but people holding digital assets in cold wallets, crypto has got to be easy, fun, quick. Say and cold wallets are safe, I guess. Cold wallet is the equivalent of taking cash out of the bank and putting it into your wallet and holding it in your back pocket to where nobody can, outside of that $5 wrench attack, nobody can take it from you. That's to me right now or putting in a safe in a bank. 6 months, sure. I think that's the safest. Yeah, but I agree that it's not ideal. No, and it's not an ideal, but I think it is the digital equivalent of what you would do now if you went to the ATM. I think the future of crypto is what Voyager was trying to do, where you get on your phone, you buy and purchase things, move them around quickly, get it back to your bank within. You know what the future is? Let's say you make $5,000 on a sale, and within an hour, it's in your bank account. Yeah. That's the future, but that is probably likely way in the future now. Or like what Voyager was trying to do is you have a debit card attached, and you could use that $5,000 right there, right? Because that was the plan, right? You put $5,000 in USDC, you can drive in 10 minutes. You could be spending that at a restaurant, right? Yeah. So, but I just don't. I think that's a long way off right now, and I think that mass adoption is a long way off. And I think long way off, but it was happening. It was happening until 2 p.m. yesterday. There was someone on the Twitter space that went to swipe, and it didn't go through. So a long way off, but they only had 5,000 people. They were doing it. They were doing it. But I think that is the future. I really do. I think 5,000 people. I think that's less than doing it. You're right. All right. For MrFOMO, this is AZcrypto. Have a good weekend, everybody. See ya.